Good morning, students. Let us continue with the next topic under module 3, that is study magnetic field. Till now we have studied electrostatic fields, that is for the constant charges. Charges are static, so the fields created by such charges are called as electrostatic fields. Next we will be going to study the magnetic fields, right? So these magnetic field exists due to permanent magnet or the natural magnet. A scientist named as Oersted, he discovered the relation between the electrostatic fields and the magnetic fields. Any current carrying conductor is surrounded by a magnetic field. When the charges are in motion, they are surrounded by a magnetic field, or when the current is carried by a conductor, surrounding the conductor there will be magnetic field. Charges in motion constitute electric current. Current conductor is surrounded by a magnetic field. So if such a current flow is steady, that is, it is independent of the time change, it is time invariant. Okay, if it is time invariant, then the magnetic field that is established by this current is also static. It is also static. That is, it is also time invariant. So such types of magnetic fields we call them as static magnetic field. Right, static magnetic field. The study of steady magnetic field in a given space produced due to flow of current through conductor is called magnetostatics. So study of such steady magnetic fields in a given space produced by the current flowing in the conductor is called as magnetostatics. Now let us see few of the properties of the magnetic field and its properties. This is a bar magnet that you are seeing here. So it has two poles, north pole and the south pole. The bar magnet has two poles, north pole and the south pole, right? So surrounding this magnet there are lines of force, imaginary lines, right, which are emanating from the north pole, which are starting from the north pole and ending at the south pole. Okay, so these lines of force or imaginary lines of force, they are called as flux lines or magnetic flux lines or lines of force. So I have written here magnetic lines of force. So this is a permanent magnet and magnetic lines of force. So that means these magnetic lines of force, they establish a closed path between north to south pole. They move from north pole, end at the south pole, and internally within the magnet they move from south to north pole. So the path is closed. So you can see a closed path surrounding the magnet. Difference between electric flux lines and the magnetic flux lines is that for the electric flux lines, if it is a positive charge, then the lines of force will start from the positive charge and diverge or terminate. They will start from the originate from the positive charge and diverge to terminate at the infinity, or they terminate at the infinity. Whereas if it is a negative charge, electric flux start from the infinity and they terminate onto the charge. So if it is positive charge, they start from the charge and terminate in infinity. If it is a negative charge, electric flux lines converge on a charge starting from infinity. But in case of magnetic flux, poles must exist. That means that there should be two poles, north and south poles. The magnetic flux line does not exist for an independent pole. So I have written a note here: an isolated magnetic pole cannot exist. There cannot be a single pole and its flux lines. There has to be always two poles. Students, are you following here? Yes. Hence every magnetic flux line starting from north pole must end at south pole and complete the path from south to north internal to the magnet. That is, magnetic flux lines exist in the form of closed loop. Next is magnetic field due to current carrying conductor. Magnetic field due to current carrying conductor. This is the conductor which is carrying the current. Surrounding this current carrying conductor there are magnetic lines of force, concentric magnetic lines of force in the form of circles surrounding this conductor. So that means these magnetic lines of force, concentric magnetic lines of force, they exist in a plane which is perpendicular to the conductor. It is perpendicular to the conductor, right? When a straight conductor carries direct current, it produces magnetic field around it. Lines of force in such a case are in the form of concentric circles in the planes at right angles to the conductor. Direction of concentric circles depends on the direction of the current. So direction of the concentric circles, it depends on the direction of the current flowing in the conductor. If the current is flowing from top to bottom, the direction of the concentric circles is different. If the current is flowing in the upward direction, then the direction of the concentric circles will be in opposite direction. Fine. So if the direction of current is constant and it is time independent, then the magnetic lines of force are also constant and they are also time invariant or time independent, giving rise to steady magnetic field in the space surrounding the conductor. If we have to find out the direction of the magnetic lines of force, then there is a rule for that. It is called as right hand thumb rule. Right hand thumb rule is used to determine the direction of magnetic field surrounding the current carrying conductor. So according to this right hand thumb rule, the statement of the right hand thumb rule goes like this. So here this is a current carrying conductor. So I am holding the current carrying conductor in my right hand. The current carrying conductor I am holding in my right hand. The direction of the current points in the direction of the thumb. Okay. So direction of the current is in the direction of the thumb. So I have shown here. You can see here the direction of the current. If it is in the direction of the thumb, then the curl of the fingers will point to the direction of the magnetic lines of force or the magnetic flux lines, right? So this is the direction of the current, that is in the direction of the thumb. Then the curl of the fingers, that is in the anti-clockwise direction here, will represent the direction of the magnetic lines of force. This is called as the right hand thumb rule. If we consider the top view of the conductor, so it is represented by a small circle. The direction of current is indicated by a cross or a dot. If you are seeing from top the conductor, it appears like a circle, and if we represent the direction of the current as cross or dot, so cross indicates that current direction is moving away from the observer, whereas dot indicates that the current direction is towards the observer. So like this we can indicate the direction of the current looking from the top of the conductor. Thus the direction of the magnetic flux is either clockwise or anti-clockwise. There is another method for identifying the direction of the magnetic flux, that is right-hand screw rule, right-handed screw rule. So according to this right-handed screw rule, the statement goes like this. So this is a screw, this is a screw. The tip of the screw points to the direction of the current. Tip of the screw points to the direction of the current. If I rotate this screw in the direction, in such a direction that is making the screw tip to move in the direction of the current, then the direction of the screw will give the direction of the flux lines. Now in this figure you can see here the current movement is in downward direction, right? So I am rotating the screw in the clockwise direction. Fine. So if I am moving in the clockwise direction, I am rotating the screw in the clockwise direction, so that the flux lines direction will also be clockwise. So this is called as the right-handed screw rule. Right-handed screw rule. Total number of magnetic lines of force is called magnetic flux, denoted by phi. It is measured in Weber, and 10⁸ flux lines is equal to 1 Weber. 10⁸ lines of force is equal to 1 Weber. Magnetic field intensity. Magnetic field intensity at any point in the magnetic field is defined as the force experienced by a unit north pole of 1 Weber strength when placed at that point. If you are placing a magnetic pole, north pole of unit strength at one particular point in a magnetic field surrounding the current carrying conductor, then the force experienced by that pole is nothing but magnetic field intensity. So this is measured in newtons per Weber or amperes per meter or ampere turns per meter. It is denoted as H bar. So this is a vector quantity and it is similar to electric field intensity. In electric field intensity we represent it as E bar, but in magnetostatics we represent it as H bar. Next definition, magnetic flux density. Magnetic flux density. Magnetic flux crossing unit area, magnetic flux per unit area in a plane perpendicular to the direction of the flux is called as magnetic flux density. Magnetic flux crossing unit area in a plane at right angles to the direction of flux is called magnetic flux density. So this magnetic flux density is represented as B bar. It is also a vector quantity. It is represented in Weber per meter square, Weber per meter square, also called Tesla. So this is similar to the electric flux density. In electric flux density is represented as D bar, and there D bar is in terms of ampere per meter square, but here in magnetic flux density for the in the magnetostatics, magnetic flux density is Weber per meter square. Relation between B bar and H bar. Relation between B bar and H bar. In electrostatics we have established the relation between D and E. We know that D is equal to epsilon E. Yes or no? D is equal to S epsilon E. In magnetostatics, B and H are related through permeability mu. So if we consider mu naught as free space, that is 4 pi into 10 raised to minus 7, the value of mu naught, okay, then mu r is the relative permeability, then B and H are related by the formula B is equal to mu H. B is equal to mu H. So that is B is equal to mu naught mu r H bar. For free space, B is equal to mu naught H. So this is the relation between B and H for the magnetostatics. Next we will study one of the important topic which is repeated many times in the examination. It's an examination question which has repeated many times. Biot-Savart law. Consider the current conductor carrying direct current. Consider the conductor, this is the conductor which is carrying the direct current, conductor carrying direct current, right? I and a steady magnetic field produced around it. Biot-Savart law allows us to obtain the, so what is this Biot-Savart law providing us? This Biot-Savart law provides us the magnitude of the DH bar, that is the magnetic flux intensity, magnetic flux intensity, right? Intensity is provided by this Biot-Savart law. Biot-Savart law allows us to obtain the differential magnetic field intensity DH bar produced at a point P due to differential current element IDL. Current carrying conductor is shown in below figure. This is a current carrying conductor. Current carrying conductor, okay, conductor which is carrying the current I. The differential element is DL. So current in the direction of differential element will be I into DL. We have seen this in our module 1. So if you want the current in the direction of the differential element, then it will be product of the current and the differential element, IDL. Consider differential and DL, hence differential current element is IDL. So it is the small part of the current carrying conductor. Point P is at a distance r from the differential current element. Point P is at a distance r from the current carrying element. Theta is the angle between differential current element and line joining point P to the differential current element. Theta is the angle between, what is theta? Theta is the angle between the differential element and the line joining, theta is the angle between the differential element and the line joining the point P to this differential element. Biot-Savart law states that magnetic field intensity DH bar produced at a point P due to differential current element DL, it is proportional to the product of current and the differential element, that is IDL, directly proportional to IDL. It is also directly proportional to the sine of the angle between the line joining point P and the element right? That is sine of theta, and inversely proportional to the square of the distance r between the point P and the element. So here DH, this is DH, mathematically it can be represented like this. DH is the magnetic field intensity, it is directly proportional to I into DL, then it directly proportional to sine theta, sine of the angle theta between sine of the angle theta, okay, so sine of this angle theta between the point P and the element, sine of angle theta, okay, then inversely proportional to square of the distance r. So it is inversely proportional to square of this distance, r. So we can write it as dh is equal to ki dl sine theta by r square. That is where k is the proportionality constant. So this k is given by 1 by 4 pi in SI units. So dh will be equal to ideal sine theta by 4 pi r square. Take it as equation 3. Let us express this equation in vector form. So let us consider the vector form of this equation. dl, let it be the magnitude of vector length dl bar. dl, let it be the magnitude of the vector length, magnitude of the length dl bar. Its vector length b, let it be equal to dl. Then ar bar, let it be unit vector in the direction from differential current element to point P. Unit vector in direction from differential current element to point P, let it be ar bar. So from the rule of cross product we know that dl into ar is equal to dl ar sin theta, dl cross ar. If it is a dot product we get dl ar cos theta. If it is a cross product then we will get dl ar sin theta. Remember this, we have studied this in our first module. This is equal to dl sin theta because ar is 1, it is unit vector. So put this in equation 3. So if we put this in equation 3, what we get here? So ideal dh is equal to ideal sin theta by 4 pi r square. So ideal is, we got, that is dl sin theta. Dl sin theta is dl cross ar. Dl sin theta is dl cross ar. So that will be dh is equal to ideal cross ar divided by 4 pi r square. Ar is nothing but vector ar is the vector divided by its magnitude. So that is its vector divided by its magnitude. Ar is vector divided by its magnitude. So dh bar will be equal to ideal into r bar divided by its magnitude 4 pi r square into r, that will be r cube. So equations 4 and 5, they are the mathematical form of the Biot-Savart law. Fine. So in today's class we have started with the steady magnetic field. Okay. So we have gone through various topics such as the magnetic field and its properties. We have seen the properties of the magnetic field. Magnetic field due to current carrying conductor. We have seen two laws there, two statements there. One is the right-handed screw rule and another one is the right-handed thumb rule. We have studied those through those two rules. Fine. Then later on we took up the study of magnetic field intensity, magnetic flux density, relation between B bar and H bar. Then next, one of the important topics, that is Biot-Savart law. Right, we have derived the equation for the Biot-Savart law up till the equation dh bar is equal to ideal cross r divided by 4 pi r cube. Dh bar is equal to ideal bar cross r bar divided by 4 pi r cube. Hope you understood, students. If there are any doubts, send your doubts to me. I will answer to your doubts. Thank you.